is our first webinar through the Center for Learning the Digital Age, thanking our guests from Brighton and from Webster. And in our audience, we have Howard Ennis, who is the Library Media Specialist at Brighton High School. Howard, if you want to just give a quick wave, let everybody know who you are.
That's me.
And we also have Krill and Thomas, who are 11th graders at the Brighton High School. A quick wave from those guys. And from Webster, we have Brian Zimmer, Director of Educational Technology, and Joe Montemanero, also Director of Ed Tech at Webster. And we have Corey Gomez, who's a teacher on special assignment and technician in this realm, and two 12th grade students, Skylar Ferrante and Ethan Nguyen. Ethan, I hope I got the pronunciation right on your last name.
You did.
And so welcome, guys. Very exciting. I had an opportunity to talk with Brian and Howard about a week ago, and it wasn't really a rehearsal, but the story that they shared about the student-run help desks at their districts was really phenomenal, and it helped build the list of questions. So I'll put this out to the panelists. Why would you want to start a student-run help desk, and what's the purpose? And we'll just open it up with that.
I think Brian mentioned it last week. I guess the question is, why wouldn't you want to start a student help desk? There are so many great benefits to the school community. Years ago, for Brighton High School, it started as a conversation at Nicegate. We were talking about going down the road, how we were moving towards a one-to-one environment. How can we support the other all of our students here with our limited staff? How can we offer that one-on-one support quickly if a student has an issue or if they're trying to figure something out? And what better way than to leverage our student experts, the students that do feel competent, that have that level of expertise, that are willing to help, the kind of students that are in everyone's classes, the ones that run over to help the teacher with a cord or a projector or connecting to something. They have that area of expertise, and why not allow them to shine and allow them to participate, particularly in a high school where students are very peer-oriented. They might prefer help from their own peer versus going to another adult if they're struggling with something with technology. So that's another great reason to move.
Howard, lots of great reasons there. I appreciate the input, and if we can get our Webster directors to chime in just a little bit.
Yeah. So one of the things, Dave, for us in Webster, we were trying to fill a void with adding over 8,300 devices for a one-to-one program in grades K through 12. So what we wanted to do is not only increase the capacity of adding those devices, but we also wanted to give more of our kids opportunities to be part of the process as far as setting the devices up, making sure that they were ready to go, giving them just an overall experience to prepare them for opportunities that exist once they leave Webster. So we were really focused on developing them long-term, but also accomplishing some needs that we had internally based on adding all of those devices. Because initially we have 7 techs, and we didn't think that 7 techs were going to be able to handle adding that many devices on top of all of the ones that we currently service.
Yeah, it's a big undertaking, and there's lots of dynamics and moving parts going on at any given time. What sorts of obstacles go along with setting up a student-run help desk?
I think one of the things that you have to consider is logistics. You know, how are you going to do this? What area are you going to have to do this? I know, certainly for us, you have to find a staff member that's capable and willing to lead the program and be able to be inside of your high schools. But you also have to talk about finances. How can you do this in terms of FTE? And just logistics of where the student's going to come from. How do they get to that place in order to run the student help desk? Is it a study hall? Is it an internship? So there's lots of things to consider. So, my best advice to anybody out there who wants to run a student help desk is to use your resources. You need to bring in more people to have those conversations. Business officials, ASIs. You got to have the logistics conversation The why to me is easy because we're always looking to give kids real world experience and to have student voice. So that kind of sells itself, but you still have to deal with the logistics and get over some of those humps.
Yeah, that's more interesting points there. And that kind of leads into the next question. You guys are setting this up perfectly. The actual working on devices, and I know that the stories are a little bit different between Brighton and Webster, but how did you get district officials, administrators, and the students comfortable with being able to work on a device, you know, the touch a device, so to speak? And if maybe we could get Howard to chime in on that, and then we'll circle back to Webster, and then we'll get some of the student voice in there as well.
Yeah, our role with the help desk with the Genius Barons at Brighton High School has not been really to handle the hardware as much as it is software troubleshooting. So initially when we moved to one-to-one, there was a lot of focus on Microsoft 365 products, getting students acclimated to saving things to the cloud, using Outlook, using OneDrive and OneNote. We're not a Google Chromebook school, so our devices are a little bit more complicated, and we haven't been doing the physical hardware repairs. So the kinds of work that we have been doing is working with teachers as well as students and getting comfortable using, in the implementation of apps and technology in the curriculum, as well as, getting a student connected to a printer or struggling to reboot their machine or whatever small things. With that said, we have been working with our tech department from the very beginning. There was training that we did with our staff a couple of years ago, and we continue to do. Kirill can talk later about how he became Microsoft, MIE certified, which was certainly very helpful, and we've had some other students go through that training as well. I don't know if I answered your question, but I think we're moving in that direction.
No, yeah. That's a good start, Howard, and thank you very much. We'll switch over to Brian and Joe, and if you could add in, how did Webster get comfortable having students actually work on the physical devices? And then once we've heard that, then we'll hop over to Corey and the students at Webster and get some student feedback.
A lot of it just started based on letting the kids go and explore the devices. We developed a boot camp through Joe and Corey where the kids would spend a full 8-hour day just exploring what's entailed with a Chromebook. The students also are Dell certified, so they're certified Dell technicians. So they have that experience. But what we did is we gave them a conglomerate of devices of Chromebooks and let them just go and play. Let them figure out every piece of the Chromebook and let them figure out what they need to do in order to repair it. So the adults didn't have to. You'll see when you talk to Corey and the two gentlemen sitting there, the two gentlemen are probably some of the most talented kids we've ever had. They figured out parts and issues with the Chromebooks long before any of our adults would ever. And so going back to the question about obstacles, I think one of the things that's been beneficial is our student workers have helped us overcome the obstacles and some of the things that are roadblocks that were put in by our technicians based on fear. And our kids have really gone well above and beyond to make this program super smooth now that we're in year 4. And I couldn't imagine not having the program with the great kids that you'll hear in a minute, and as well as Corey. So it's a great opportunity because these kids can go and play. They can go and explore. We've got devices that allow them to push the boundaries, and it's been really successful for us.
Sounds like a lot of fearlessness in there as well with the students. That's terrific. Brian, thanks for sharing that. And we'll hop over to Corey, to your window with your student helpers here. And if you guys can microphone on, and we might need to microphone off the computers next to you if you're next to someone. But Corey, welcome. Yeah, we're getting some echo, so whoever's right next to you guys, maybe. No, we're good?
Just us.
Okay, great.
Another piece of that I think that's important to stress is Yeah, overcoming that first year, taking that first dive in, and establishing something has all of its own logistical nightmares, as Joe was touching on. But once it gets implemented, it kind of becomes a self-sufficient world inside your school. These guys 4 years ago, let's be honest, were lower level workers, freshmen in the building. And after 4 years of the cycle, they've had kind of other student mentors in the building that showed them the way. And now they're doing the same thing for my current freshmen. And so the cycle will continue to keep refreshing itself if you make the program attractive as it is. So it kind of takes some of the stress away from like, oh man, I got to train all these kids every year. They kind of do it together with themselves and kind of take on this cross grade level dynamic and relationship that's really awesome to see as an instructor for the program, which is really cool.
So Ethan and Skylar, if we can get you to jump in, and then we'll circle back over to Kirill over at Brighton, and we'll get his perspective as well. What's this like for you guys? How did you come into it? What do you like about it? What's it like working with the administrators and the quote unquote grown-ups in the program? Be great to have your perspective.
You want to? You can go. Okay. It's very interesting because it's not something that you see every day. It's definitely, I came in not knowing like literally anything about fixing Chromebooks or anything like that. But just sitting here with Gomez and like some of the other adults and them teaching me how to fix stuff was very helpful. And it really grows on you because after the program, we got an opportunity to actually work over the summer and actually have jobs, which was really good. And like Corey said, we been teaching a lot of the freshmen and some sophomores, even a couple juniors. It's a very interesting relationship between the two, the underclassmen and us.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever, outside of WTI, which is what we call our program, I haven't really met any underclassmen. And WTI kind of helps create like cross relationships between different grade levels and allows you to learn things that you would never really learn in school or even in school, normally in school. And it does teach you a lot about like the hardware of things. And
it sounds like some real world that comes out to that you'll be able to take with you beyond the books and paper or the books and digital that you might be used to in a classroom.
Mm-hmm. And it's pretty interesting to like have a teacher go up to you and ask to like fix their printer or fix a white or a smartboard in the class.
Mm-hmm. Terrific. And guys, I will call your attention for any of our panelists. If you have access to a keyboard, and you can open up the Q&A box, and there is a question out there from one of our doctoral students at Warner about I wonder what drove or encouraged the students to take the role in the first place. And you can answer live. You click the answer live button and then just type it. But you can also type in the chat box. And I see Brian is already doing that. So for any of our panelists, if you are in front of the keyboard, feel free to respond to our attendees. So 12th graders from Webster, thank you very much. And let's hop over to our student helpers at Brighton Central School District. Microphone on. Grill, can you hear us okay? Must be the software mic. The Zoom microphone shows it's on.
Can you check your microphone setting?
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
You want to come over here?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. It's our first one, and it takes some getting used to. Totally fine.
Okay, hello guys. You guys can see me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
All right, good.
Okay, so first of all, I got into the club from, like, I saw my friends doing it. I got, like, kind of dragged into that by my friends. Oh, 1 second. My phone's on the call too. Okay, there we go. So I was originally dragged into by my friends. I started participating in the club like a lot. I had a lot of free time during the day. I became more of an active member. And like throughout the experience, I really enjoyed working there because during my free time when I'm not helping other students or teachers with any issues, I'd be able to kind of develop my own skills and learn more like about technology in the field that I want to be learning in.
Okay. Well, we have some additional questions. The student perspective is of great interest to our audience. And there are a few questions in the Q&A box, and I'll just read them aloud so that we've got them here on audio. But one of our doctoral students from Warner has asked, Mena Lu, I am wondering what kind of difficulties students experience during this learning process. Brenda from Marcus Whitman stated, then asked, so on a daily basis, what kinds of things do the students do? Do you come out of study hall or miss some class days? Levon has asked, so do they volunteer or are you paid? And Karen Finter from West Irondequoit has asked, what is the onboarding process for students? This might be for Brian and Howard and Joe, but what is the onboarding process and what is the time commitment for students and so on? And Corey Allen asked, does Howard run this as a club? So a few questions there for the students. And Kirill, if you want to lead us off with some of the, how did you get on board? I think you already talked about being onboarded. You saw your friends doing this. But what kinds of things do you do on a daily basis with this?
So first of all, I have to explain our school's schedule. So we're given free periods, and during those time, we can pretty much spend it however we like. So we're volunteers, so we can decide to like kind of volunteer during these free periods for the club. And for day-to-day activities, we have an office in our library, which is a pretty active place in our school because everyone loves the library. And so we get a lot of traffic, and we we help a lot of issues with software because we lend out tablets in the library for people who forget them at home. We help people with printer issues for most common one. And like if teachers or students ever need help, we're always there. We have almost every period in the day filled out. So we're always there, ready to help.
Oh, that's terrific. And let's hop over to Ethan and Skylar, and if you guys could join in, and then we'll switch over to Brian, and then back to Howard just to get more at the administrative perspective.
So for us, we do a lot of screens or motherboards. We replace them. So when we get a device, we start at the help desk. So someone comes in and they say, my Chromebook's broken. I don't know what happened to it, or maybe the screen broke or something like that. And we create a ticket and we log everything and figure out like what's wrong with it. And then we order parts for it. And then we place the parts, and sometimes it's software fixes, sometimes it's hardware fixes, but we do the entire process from like logging it into like it's called K-Box, and then to the fixing it. And
I think there's some good skill building there. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Other things to add from you guys?
So whenever we get a broken Chromebook, we first diagnose it, figure out what's wrong with it. If it's a part, we just go order the part, and then assign it to that Chromebook.
Yeah, so part of this infrastructure for the program at Webster is that these guys are Dell Tech Direct certified. We have a good working partnership, Webster and Dell. And that allows them, once they get that certification, to actually like go in and part for part order new hardware that will go into a student's machine. And we've gotten so good with these ordering and diagnostics that Dell will get us a part within 24 hours, and we can get a working functional machine back into a student's hand within the next day, which is pretty remarkable. But it comes down to these guys being able to basically identify the problem and articulate what the problem is through Dell to get the correct part, and then do the actual physical manipulation of the device to get it back up and running, which is really, really cool.
So Corey, let's go with that a little bit. Does Dell come in to do training with the students and with you and with other administrators on this? How does that work?
So I actually got Dell certified myself first, and then I passed my knowledge along to these gentlemen. Webster does, and Brian and Joe kind of touched upon this, a boot camp before school even starts. Late August, we get everyone who's interested in the WTI program together in a room for a significant amount of time, and we get them trained together And I even call on some of the senior level kids to run stations there to help triage some of that information. And that way, first day of school, when kids come in with broken problems, which they do, we can address them right then instead of having to learn and then fix and then we fall behind. So it kind of helps us get ahead of the curve. It kind of level sets everyone together, and it's a good chance for students to start making those connections before school even starts.
Oh, that's terrific. Great stuff, guys. Thanks for sharing.
And for us, we mostly work during study halls or free blocks.
Yeah, it's mostly just free periods.
Okay. And I know that's going to come back. I want to bump this question up to Brian and Joe, because we had quite an in-depth conversation about it last week. And that's the, I think you've mentioned the WTI. I think that's Webster Technical Institute, perhaps. But the question keeps popping into the Q&A about, do the students get paid? And I think it would be helpful to understand some of the finances of how this works. I know part of it's club-based, but I seem to recall there was something like a summer program. And so, Brian, if we could turn it back to you for a moment and have you share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Joe's going to just talk about the WTI versus the TIE experience, and we'll talk about the paid experience after that.
So during the instructional day, students have the option to join WTI either through their study hall or their free block, and WTI is Webster Technical Internship. And they can also apply for internship hours to get some credit hours through that if they choose to do that and follow through with that. Otherwise, they're just in there for their free blocks because they're interested. And then if you're a senior or a junior, you can apply to take our TIE course, which is Technology, Innovation, and Exploration. And that's an actual scheduled class that they go to 3 out of 4 days, and they earn credit. And Corey is the teacher for that class. Again, the instructional focus for the day, if you're in WTI, you're really doing a lot of triage and you're doing our kind of frontline help desk work. If you're in the TIE course, we're really looking to build on your exploration of technology, but also help you with soft skills, learning how to deal with people, how to communicate, how to lead, and then explore technologies that are outside of just the Chromebook help desk area. It's kind of a project-based class.
And that's fascinating to us as an education school, but also a Center for Learning the Digital Age. Rafael Abrasi and I were on another webinar this morning that was put on by MIT, and they were talking about the value of these soft skills. And it dovetails so nicely with what you guys are doing at Webster. It's just phenomenal. And that's one of the things that employers are really looking for, is the soft skills to go along with all the other kinds of education. So it's a great experience bringing into college or into the working world immediately after high school.
So just to expand a little bit to that paid piece now. So one of the things during our first year, and prior to our first year where we were getting ready for the one-to-one transition, we knew that we couldn't do all of this work alone. So what we did is we worked with our business official, Brian Freeman, and said, is there a possibility for us to bring on several kids? Joe and I were initially thinking maybe a half a dozen. Brian came to us and said, listen, we have room for 12 to 14 and use them how you see accordingly. So what we did is we brought them in, developed their skills with either the iPad team or Chromebook team. As a district, we're K through 2 iPad, which is roughly 2,300 iPads. And then we have the rest are all Chromebooks. So what we did is we had all of our student workers set up the iPads, put them in carts, deliver them to the building, put all the apps on it. Adults really didn't do any of that work. For the Chromebooks, our kids started the process from unboxing to laser engraving to putting the carts together to getting the carts ready for implementation to hand out to the students in grades 6 through 12. Once again, so the adults didn't have to. We had so much trust in that group that they did the majority of the work. They learned a lot. They taught us a lot. We had a couple kids where we had designed what we wanted for the back of the device for the laser engraver. So much so that the kids were saying it's not fast enough for their speed. They redesigned it and tripled the speed on how fast we could get laser engraving done. And it wasn't us, it was the kids coming up with the ideas. And so what we've done is we've expanded yearly, where Christmas break, we bring back students. We still have college kids that want to come back and work for us because they have so much time and so they love it. We've done it where Corey supervises it for us, but the kids go out in the buildings and work. We don't have to go with them. We've built a level of trust within the district. They handle all the work. We set up projects every time they come in. Just recently over Christmas break, we had 8 kids working for us. They accomplished a lot in a month for us. Stuff that would take us almost all year to accomplish if we didn't have them. Now this summer, as part of our refresh, we're going to hire some additional. They'll come in, they'll help us with the Chromebooks, with the iPads, getting them ready for next year, as well as getting desktops ready. So it's this constant cycle where we can build on kids' skill, and it's just a huge asset for us in order to not only help them grow to a point where we've had a lot of our kids go off and get jobs at college and the student-run help desk, but they also come back and help Webster grow, and it's been so incredible to see the work that they do.
Oh, that's terrific, Brian. Thanks for sharing that. And just turning to the questions in the Q&A a little bit here, because we're going to go for about another 6 or 7 minutes with our conversation and some of the things that we brought to the surface last week when we talked, and then we'll turn it over to the audience to get deeper into questions, or if somebody wants to hop online and join the conversation live, they can. So Brian Harris asked the question. How do you keep track of the tablets you hand out that students borrow? What software or website do you use to track your work order tickets? And I think we got a little bit of that from our team at Webster. Perhaps Bright can share a little bit there.
Yeah, I can share a little bit on that. Yeah, hi. Also, Dave, if I just can mention, we haven't had Thomas hasn't been able to speak up yet, and he's got a couple of things he'd like to.
Oh, terrific.
But we use something called GenYes for our work tickets. GenYes is a program out of a California company. It's bigger on the West Coast, and it offers curriculum and micro badging and some other instruction pieces, and a really nice software work ticket setup where the students can what's that?
Post tickets.
Post tickets. Yeah, Karel's giving me is finishing my sentence. Could post tickets. It's good to have these guys around. Could post tickets and create their document what they're doing, and then share it and collaborate and add other text onto the ticket if necessary, and push those tickets down to our adult tech department as well. So that's been very helpful. At first, we were using some kind of cobbed together system that we were working with, and this was a very helpful software solution. As far as circulating tablets, we actually use the Follett system in the library to circulate our tablets, and I believe they use the same inventory system in the tech department as well in another part of the school to circulate and kind of keep an eye on chargers and tablets, and they scan them in and scan them out that way. Yeah.
Terrific. Howard, one more question while you're here, and then let's bring Thomas into the conversation, because I know you said that he had some things to share. But is Brighton doing anything at the lower levels in the like 4th, 5th grade or below with some kind of a help desk, or are high schoolers going over to help out? Or
the high schoolers, when we first were starting out, we were working with the middle school, which is right next door, and when the original rollout to 8th graders on devices was going on a couple of years ago, we were very involved in that. Now they have their own students over there. I think they call themselves. Oh, they stopped that. For a while, there was another teacher or someone working with some kids there, but they may have dismissed that. We've gone over to help out with. We've taken GenBar over to professional development with teachers at other schools, but we haven't been working with younger kids at the other schools. We're a central school district, but our elementary schools are a little farther away, so transportation would be difficult. But let me pull Thomas in, because he's got some things to share.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So our tech help desk at Brighton is really quite special, because as of late, we've been really focusing on the soft skills and how we can develop those. So I know Mr. Ennis already mentioned this, but our help desk uses this ticketing system called GenYes. And the system's really quite great because it's shared between both the student collaborators and the student volunteers here and the actual IT department. And that sort of relates back to the whole philosophy of our IT department as sort of a front line. We're here to take in all the small, menial tasks, so that way the IT department can be focused on more hardware-based repairs and other repairs that would consume more time than, say, adding a printer. So this year we've been really focusing on developing soft skills. So that would be communication between students here in the school, and that was really quite intimidating as for me as a freshman when I came in. So it's been really great to be able to develop that through this club. And speaking of personal development, our club is just full of the most amazing students who work in incredibly diverse sort of aspects of IT. So I personally love information security. And I wasn't really able to have a great place of outreach on my own. And the IT help desk here is really quite phenomenal because I met another student who helps introduce me to a whole world of information security that was here in Rochester that I had no clue existed. So that was really, really quite phenomenal.
So it sounds like you're able to make some really great connections, Thomas, and appreciate your sharing that. And there are a few more questions that we want to jump into. So I'm going to poke back to the Webster team of Brian and Joe. Thank you, Thomas. And a few questions in the chat box that I sent just to the panelists. But questions that we talked about when we were doing our practice session last week: logistics across multiple buildings, the costs that are associated at the and what business officials are interested in and how you navigate that, and what the cost would be if you didn't have a program like this. So if we could start with our panelists at Webster, and then we'll come back to you, Howard.
Yeah, I think to start out with what our costs would be, they would be insurmountable. If we were trying to work as a system to repair the 8,500 devices, 8,300 to 8,500 devices that we currently have, in addition to the other ones that are in the district, it would be drastically a lot more money, it would be a lot more time, and it would not be as quick as what the kids are doing. So when I think about our turnaround time with a 24-hour window where Corey and his kids order the device, it's here within 24 hours, it's back to the users, we'd be talking 5 to 10 days minimum before the turnaround time happened. Right now, the cost for the program has been very, very, very little, besides the 1.0 for Corey and the 1.0 for our teaching assistant. We limited our footprint to tools that are needed, where we spend roughly $200 to $300 a year on tools to fix these devices. For us in Webster, all of the repair parts are under warranty. So Corey and the students just go in and order them, and they send the parts. There are times where we'll have a device that's been decommissioned, or it's been used a little bit more than we would have liked, and it's not really functional to go back out. We'll use that device we'll put that device as one that we're going to remove, but we'll take the good working parts out of to allow for some flexibility and time. So for us as a district, we've limited our cost footprint to quite little amount of money each year, besides the cost for salaries. And right now, the cost for salaries is really being covered by, we get paid $38 per device that we repair through Dell, because the kids are Dell certified technicians. Every few months, Dell sends us a check, and that gets added back into the technology line for WTI. So basically, all of the repairs that are being done cover the day-to-day costs that we're doing, besides for Corey and the teaching assistant.
Oh, terrific. I think we want to jump into wish list, and maybe we'll hop over and get Howard, and then we'll come back to Corey and students, and then circle back to Joe and Brian. Joe, did you want to jump in with something?
The only thing I wanted to add is I know that someone was asking about the elementary level.
Yeah.
The way our program works is we have two sides of the district. So our devices that are broken our teaching assistant collects those devices and brings them up to the high schools, and the high schools work on those devices from the middle school and the elementary school. We do have a tech homeroom at the two middle schools. It's more like a WTI light that's staffed inside of the building. The principals kind of support that with different teaching assistants in the building a couple of periods a day just so that they can take in the devices and then get them up to us. So, but per se, we don't have an elementary program yet.
Okay. But you're handling the logistics by having them collected, come to the space where they can be fixed, and then they go back to the origin.
Correct.
Yep. Terrific. So everybody's wanting to know what the wish list is. What else would you want to do with your programs? And Howard, we'll hop over to you, and then we'll come back to our panelists at Webster.
Yeah, our program has morphed and changed over the years. One thing that we would love to have and that we're looking forward to having is a new space for the students that is more, that's closer to our tech department, and so they're able to work with the techs directly or having them nearby. So we're in the process of converting, or we're about to start the process of converting a space in the lower level of the library that's more accessible from other parts of the school, where student collaboration, and tech collaboration will be going on, as well as our Gen Bar staff for parts of the day. That's close, right next to our other adult techs. In addition, I'm really impressed with what Brian's been doing, with Webster's been doing at their school with working with hardware. We went to visit the Victor School District a couple of weeks ago, and so they have a similar program. We'd love to get our kids touching hardware. Frankly, currently what we're doing is sourcing our tablets from BOCES and buying into a service contract. I can't speak to what that costs or what the savings would be, but I'm sure they would be enormous savings and certainly our student staff would be well utilized if they could go through this training and then be able to work on the hardware aspect. It would just open up a whole new world for them. So I would have to say that that new space that we're looking forward to, and the prospect of moving towards hardware repairs as well as software solutions, would be enormous for us.
Great. Howard, thanks. And we'll come back and get the student perspective here in just a moment. Let's circle back to Webster, Brian, and actually let's go to Corey first, if you guys don't mind. What's on your wish list, Corey?
Yeah, Webster's also kind of going through a transition at both the high school levels with a remodeling of the library media centers, and we're going to get integrated in there as well. So we're looking forward to that within the next year or two. But I think outside of just the physicality of a room, getting more and more experimental with the technologies that we have access to, and giving access to the students to play with those things, because they go up through the school for 12 years or whatnot, and they're told, hey, don't touch that, don't break that, don't do anything with your hands. And to uncondition that mindset in the WTI world is really important to me. Hey, no, I want you to take that TV apart. Let's figure out how it works. And supplying those resources and those real world opportunities that are hands-on for them are huge to us. We actually just got a 3D printer in our room last week, and we're just getting our feet wet and trying to figure out, hey, what can we use this for? What kind of real-world implementation that we can do with it? How can we benefit our school community with it? And just finding those angles for the kids to really explore is really what I would want to do more of. Give you guys bigger world stuff outside of just our room.
All right, terrific. And Brian and Joe, if you guys could chime in.
One of the things that I want all the time is when I look at Ethan and Skylar, to know that they've come from our program and that they're proud of it. And I know that when they come back and work for us. For me, we have such a great experience and a great opportunity with our kids working alongside of us. For me, one of my biggest wishes, and I would assume Joe's going to say this, is that this program will continue to grow and grow and grow, where we can have more of a footprint on what we're doing with more kids throughout Webster and really expanding it to that middle school level. That's one of our goals next year, is how do we expand it in grades 6 through 8, and then look to the future to see how we can keep pushing the envelope. We're about making opportunities for kids exist that never would have existed before. And as Corey just talked, we want the kids to do stuff. We want them to try stuff. We want them to make the mistakes and learn here, rather than going out in the real world and having a detrimental consequence for trying something that they should have not have done, or it's just one of those things where normal class opportunities would have said, you don't do this in this realm. So just looking at that opportunity for kids and helping them give whatever opportunity they want to go forward and giving them that great experience is really my ultimate goal and want.
I think one of the things that I wish for, and I think that we try to work with, and Corey's been a big part of this, is how do we get kids into the program that might not necessarily think of themselves as tech kids. And one of the things that we really try to push is that, you know, the program is about 80% soft skills and 20% technical skills. And that if we could shine the light on that for other kids, that might open some doors for kids that wouldn't traditionally be in a quote unquote tech program.
Oh, that's terrific, guys. Thank you. And just in sake of time, 45 minutes goes by so quickly, and we timed this for 45 minutes. So I want to honor all of our attendees and our panelists for that. But let's circle back, and I'll wrap up with the students with this question. What would you share with another student who is thinking about joining this club or doing something like this, participating in this program? And if we can start with our two students at Brighton, and then we'll hop back over to Webster and get your perspective, and then just do a quick circle around with any parting comments from everybody.
Okay, so one thing that I would say for our club is I think the collaboration part for our club is probably the biggest reason that we're pretty successful around here. So we have pretty frequent meetings where we talk about all of our future plans, all the things that we're going to do, and like wrapping up what we have done to kind of just have a conclusion or just like things to think about for the future. And so we also have a OneNote notebook, which we have where we can all put in any info at any time. So for example, we have our makerspace that we're planning to make, and I've been putting possible suggestions and like summaries of all these possible suggestions for the future so that administrators can and maybe pick the best possible option.
Directly working with those social aspects, you're also getting extremely valuable experience with writing tickets that you would in the real world, or working on real world problems like adding a printer or figuring out network misconfigurations, or figuring out DNS zone transfers and why that's messing up stuff. Being able to understand that in this sort of setting now is a huge benefit for everyone involved, and will definitely help students out in the real world.
And
that's great, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's hop over to our students at Webster.
So a lot of the people that actually joined, a lot of them came in and they had to get their thing repaired. And as they're coming in, they see like, oh, there's these students working on it. And they go, oh, so can I join? And a lot of people, they kind of like, even like, well, after they get their Chromebook like taken in so that it can be repaired, they'll go over and like watch students like repair it for a second. And I think it's really, if you end up don't liking it, you can just stop whenever you want. So it's really easy to get into it. And then if you don't like it, leave. And so a lot of students just try it out and then love it. And that's allowed us to grow incredibly quickly.
Yeah, one of the things about the room that we work in is it's pretty much like a free room that like anyone can go into and just like hang out, eat lunch, do whatever. And so a lot of the time people will just come in, see that we're working and ask to join, or like maybe a friend will already be in the program and they want to join and help out too, which is pretty nice. And it's just like free interaction with other students.
Oh, terrific. And Corey, if I can get closing thoughts from you, then we're going to go over to Howard, get his closing thoughts. Anything that comes to mind just as a wrap up, and then we'll wrap up with Brian and Joe over at Webster.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway or piece of advice to any district or entity out there looking to implement a student help desk is trust the students. Look at these guys. 4 years ago, I wouldn't trust them with a screwdriver, and now I'm coming to them with problems that I have myself. So if you give kids an inch, they'll take a mile, and I mean that in the best way ever. These guys are awesome. Trust your students. They're going to do wonders for you. Thanks for having us, guys.
Corey, great. Thanks so much. Howard, parting thoughts.
I would echo the same thing. It's such a joy to work with these kids. I learned so much from them. Their area of expertise, their technical expertise is much higher than mine in so many other aspects. And it's just really great to watch them grow. Our program is now in its 5th year, so we've had students move on and come back to visit. And it's just just to see how they grow socially, and their confidence level is just enormous. So I appreciate you including us in this discussion, and I think it's been such a valuable experience for me personally. I really enjoyed working with these kids and leading them along the last few years. Thank you,
Howard. Thank you, and Brian and Joe.
I think same for me. I mean, the work in this program is the best work that I do. It's the most enjoyable thing. I wish, everybody could take a part of that. The other thing that I would say is that we didn't do this blind. We went to and visited a bunch of different programs, asked questions, looked for problems, and I think any of the student help desk programs that we've ever encountered have always been willing to share. So if you're interested, we're more than willing to give you some more information. Contact us. I'm sure Brighton is the same, but we're not the only two in the game either. So, feel free to take and steal and use and morph into your own things.
Joe, thank you.
And I guess the last thing is, one of the things that I said last week on our previous call is, don't be afraid to do this. If you're on the fence and you think that this is what's best for kids, do it. We knew right from the beginning that it was the best thing for kids. We had a lot of answers. We had a lot of things we were just worried about in the beginning, because you've got to overcome teacher perception, your tech perception. You've got to overcome a lot of things. But going back to Corey's statement about trust, if you trust the people that are doing your program, you trust your people that work for you, as well as the kids that work alongside of you, it's going to go great. And one of the things that's been instrumental for us is this program has taken off. It's not because of the work that Joe and I are doing. It's because of the work that the kids are doing. And it's so rewarding, as Joe said, to see what these kids do on a daily basis. I'm so excited about the future. I'm so excited to have my own kid join the program. And, and just, I guess my last thing is, don't hesitate, just do it. And you can always wonder, what if? Do it because it's the right thing for kids. It's really preparing them for the next step and getting them ready for opportunities that don't even exist yet. That risk-taking, that ability to try things and not question it, will make them better in the long run by being part of these programs.
Panelists, this has been terrific. Thank you so much for your time and energy into the conversation today. Really appreciate it. And for all our attendees, thank you out there for all your great questions and for participating today. And we'll look forward to seeing people on our next webinar coming up in 4 to 6 weeks, I think, is the next time frame. So you'll be getting invites on that. And on behalf of the Center for Learning in the Digital Age at the Warner School of Education, thank you all very much. And until next time, enjoy the rest of the week. Thanks, everyone.